we as Australians have data protection and privacy that is woefully out of date internationally. So getting that right is the first step to keeping us safe.
Should the National AI Plan have included greater protections for Australians from the potential risks and harms of AI?
The plan contains, in its third section, quite a lot of commitment to protecting Australians. They say keeping Australians safe. And I guess the challenge is that the commitments are not enough. So it's not enough to say that the government will do, continue privacy reform. What's important is that the government puts that on the legislative agenda, that we see those reform packages which are designed, given how data hungry artificial intelligence is, that they actually do protect Australians in that way.
What regulation do we need?
Look, there's a raft mentioned in the plan. I think first off the rank, as it were, should be privacy. So artificial intelligence systems are hugely data hungry. They're used all around us every day in Australia, whether we're online or offline. And we as Australians have data protection and privacy that is woefully out of date internationally. So getting that right is the first step to keeping us safe. And there's many others like online safety and protections for children that are also mentioned that should be really at the top of the list.
Does the responsibility now lie with the AI Safety Institute to identify potential risks in real time and then persuade government to address them?
Not at all. The AI Safety Institute will play and should play a really important role in helping us understand better the risks that are out there, and particularly the new risks as they evolve. So risks like how AI agents, automated systems might travel around our financial system. But we already know most of the risks that are already affecting Australians today. AI is here. It's not something coming down the pipeline. So really part of the plan and the urgency for government is to actually just do what they've said.
So in the end, did big business and big tech win the argument that more regulation would kill the signal for investment in Australia?
I don't think so, but I do worry that that's the way the plan has been read. And I think that impression has been because one of the main alternatives that's been proposed was a big Australian AI Act, a kind of central regulatory function, a new way of regulating AI at the centre of Australian law at the federal level. And the government, and I think rightly in my opinion, decided that would actually be a really challenging way to continue because it would have duplicated a lot of the existing regulatory functions, and it would have pushed the kind of can down the road in terms of implementation. So instead they have focused on getting the law reform for current regulators and regulations and laws right.
Could we look at this from a different perspective? Could mandatory guardrails, as the government once considered, have provided some certainty for business as to how it could more quickly embrace artificial intelligence?
Mandatory guardrails is another option that the previous Albanese government, and when Ed Husic was Industry Minister, they were looking at. There's a lot to recommend mandatory guardrails in the fact that they actually set out very clear responsibilities for businesses across the board when they're dealing with AI systems. But they have a really key weakness. And that weakness is the technology is evolving very rapidly, and those guardrails are very hard to implement and determine for every type of use case. So instead what we have, which I think is very workable, is we have a set of voluntary standards and emerging standards that consumers and Australians can hold businesses to account, and then the law is the law of consumer protection, the law of copyright, the law of privacy, and I think that's a firmer place to stand.
So you don't think there's a cost to not having mandatory guardrails in place?
There would be a cost if the government does not continue and legislate in the way that it has said it would. So the worst of all worlds here is if everyone says we're satisfied with the plan, but we're not going to follow through on it. Following through is what keeps Australians safe, but it also does the other things. It helps us grasp the opportunities that are here.
Nicholas Davis, good to speak to you.
Thank you, Kirsten.